this video, I'm dropping a submarine while fishing 10 feet deep under a fishing pier, then 50 feet deep over a giant coral reef, and finally 1,000 feet deep under a massive seaweed patch that was surrounded by Florida's most popular fish. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. We started off our morning with a 3-mile run north towards this fishing pier 10 feet deep. Once we got to the pier, we took out the submarine and set it up. And once it was connected to my brother's phone, it was ready to go. And when you're using this submarine, the most important thing to do is to make sure the yellow cable is sealed tight into the sub. Once we were all set, we put the submarine in the water and made our way towards the pier. Now it's time to switch over to the sub point of view. A couple seconds into using the submarine, we saw this giant barracuda. And the goal of this video is to find a shark or a giant fish with the submarine. And coming up, we are going to be dropping this submarine under a giant seaweed patch 10 miles offshore. And what we saw down there was unbelievable, so stay tuned. So as we continued our way towards this fishing pier, we found a pile of barracudas. And if you guys want to catch barracuda, this Deerfield beach pier is absolutely loaded with them. So after seeing hundreds of barracuda going by the submarine, we decided to head to the deeper end of this fishing pier, and that's when we found schools of fish. So I made my way towards these barracudas again, and they led me right into these chubs. And you guys will notice as we make our way through this fishing pier that there were tons of fish under this pier, but not a lot of different species. So I slowly started making my way back to the boat, and that's when we ran into a giant school of blue runners. And like I told you guys earlier, the goal of this video was to find a shark or a giant fish, and sadly we weren't able to make it happen in the first spot. So I retrieved the submarine, and then we made the run to the coral reef sitting 50 feet deep. And let me tell you, this spot was absolutely loaded with fish. So we rigged up the submarine again, and then my dad positioned the boat right on this spot. And now it was time to drop the submarine in the water. So we put the sub in the water and started making our way down to the bottom. So we switch over to the sub point of view, and let me know in the comments below where you guys would want to see us drop this submarine next. We finally have hit the bottom, and let me tell you, this submarine takes forever to go down deep. But right off the start, we ran into a giant school of mangrove snapper. And honestly, this was a great way to begin drop number 2. And right after this drop, we will be dropping this submarine under a giant seaweed patch, so stay tuned. So as we continued our way searching this reef, we have already seen chubs, porkfish, and snapper, a great variety of fish to start drop number 2. But we were still searching for the goal of this video, and that was to find a giant fish or a shark. So we continued searching this reef, and then a giant barracuda showed up, and this fish came out of nowhere, which helped us complete one of our goals. But we still were in search of a shark. So we followed this barracuda, and he actually ended up leading us to a pack of fish, and this was by far the coolest thing we have ever seen with the submarine. So the second we lost sight of this barracuda, we turned the submarine around, and that's when we found this giant pack of fish. And there were so many different species of fish in this school. And if you guys know what kind of species these fish are, let me know in the comments below, because honestly, I'm not sure what these fish are. So we continued to follow these fish around, and then we saw this parrotfish. And these are some of the coolest fish in the ocean, but we still have not found what we were looking for. So we slowly started making our way back to the boat, and now it's time to run offshore and drop the submarine under a giant patch of seaweed. So we retrieved the submarine, and then we made the 10-mile run offshore, and once we got out to 1,000 feet of water, we found this giant seaweed patch. So we knew it was time to set up the submarine and drop it in the water. So once we were all set again, we put the submarine in the water, and then my brother Hunter connected his phone to it. So we slowly started to submerge the submarine underwater, and now it's time to switch over to the sub point of view. And right off the start, you guys can see we are surrounded by Almaco jacks. And this is by far the deepest we have ever dropped this submarine. And you guys can see we are trying to stay out of all the seaweed just because we don't want the wires to get all tangled up. But as we continued our journey around the seaweed, we saw some nice sized triple tail, and then a couple seconds later after searching, we ran into this giant school of mahi. And during the summertime, this is usually what happens when you're fishing under these giant seaweed patches. You'll find packs of these mahi in all different sizes. And this school actually had some nice sized fish in it, but after a while we lost that school of mahi. So we continued our journey back towards the boat, and there were chubs and Almaco jacks everywhere. And it just goes to show, even when you're out 10 miles offshore in the middle of nowhere, the smallest seaweed patch can be holding hundreds of fish. So we made our way back towards the boat, and sadly this was a failed challenge. Even after putting in 8 hours of trying to find that shark, we couldn't find him. We searched under fishing piers, reefs, and seaweed patches and just couldn't make it happen. So we retrieved the submarine and then made our way back home. We hope you guys enjoyed this underwater fishing video, and we will see you in the next Barjack's Family Fishing video.